Hi everybody, welcome back. It's 6:54 a.m. on June 21st, 2023. Happy summer solstice. Let's see here. I want to talk about, because everybody's talking about that Titanic. I'm watching or listening to Gina Marie Calvin Hill. She's pretty good. She's got a lot of cool things going on. But what I want to talk about is this. Let's look at the Titanic. Okay, so the Titanic there's symbolism in the Titanic. So the Titanic is a, where's it at? The sinking of the Titanic. Okay, so when we look at the sinking of the Titanic, which is Titanic had an estimate of 2,224 people on board. Okay, now when we look at the number here, 22 in Hebrew is the last letter and it represents an X. And 24 in Greek is the last letter, it's considered the last letter or the last number, but there's 25 actually, but there's 24, let's say, in Greek, which is the omega sign, right? So you got the keys and the omega, people on board. Now, when we look at the Titanic, it's a British, what do you call it? A British, where did I just see it? Where did it go? Oh, right here. The British passenger liner. Okay, so when we look at this ship here, think of Queen Mary. Think of our body. Our body is the ship, okay? And we are on, we're like on this wave, we got our ups and downs, we got our ins and outs. It's iron, right? It's supposed to be durable, unsinkable. Now, when you look at British passenger liner, now look at British as the brightest. So everybody who was on board was very intelligent people, and they were coming over to the United States, right? Well, they said it got struck by an iceberg, but I don't see how an iceberg could have hit where if it sunk somewhere off of between New York and, really think about how many icebergs are around there. And this is like 1912. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, interesting, my grandmother was born in 1912. So when you look at 1912, it's like saying the brightest people that were headed over to America, somehow this iron ship was struck, what they say, by an iceberg that broke it in half. Okay, so when you say broke it in half, let's look at our body. Our body is, you got your right side and your left side that's broken in half and divided in the middle with the neutral zone. So it's like saying at that time, they have taken somehow, kind of work with me here, okay, just in case people are like, what are you talking about? In that time in history, somehow the body, the reality of this reality, our body, right, was divided. So the Titanic, so TI is like a probably titanium. And then you got the Ta, which is like the 19th letter, which is TAU, and then T, and then you got the nickel, right? Or Nicholas. So the brightest. Remember, in our mind's eye is the nickel, the 5 cents. So it like split it in half, and then it sunk. So now we're in this world today to where we are divided, right? And literally we're getting more divided and stuff like that. So now they send down the Titan. Now, the symbolism of the Titanic is when you look at the date. So remember when they're doing all those strands of COVID, the 15th letter in Greek is Omicron. That was one of the strands. Plus 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 is Z, the weapon. 19 is Ta in Greek, which represents T, the tower, which is like saying, let's see here. So this is our brain, dividing it down the center of us, right? A right brain, left brain. So the Titanic was split, broke apart, and sunk. Now, the subatomic is like in if Scooby-Doo Incorporated, the last few ones when they all get the CD disc, or they get the CD disc by Mr. E. That says that he's going to enroll them into the subatomic university, right? So they go and they take they redo the van because their old van got destroyed. Which, if you think about it, the old van got destroyed, taken out, and then I think it was another van come from a package from the sky, delivered by the Nye guy. What's his name? He's the science guy. It's called NYE, Nye. So, but anyway, they send it down, and it has all these weapons and stuff. And in other words, they try to use the weapons, and the weapons don't work. The Wi-Fi doesn't work. So anyway, they end up at the end of it taking that van and redoing it and decorating it back up like the regular van that they had, the Scooby-Doo Incorporated van. So they repaint it and everything. So when we think of subatomic university, it's right here. It's our mind's eye. That's the subatomic, because we're going within our mind. Remember, the third eye is right here, subatomic. So in the picture, our eye here, our regular eye here, our nose, and then our mouth. So subatomic, so the body was already split. So the big Titanic sank. Now, subatomic is called the submarine that went under, that's missing, right? Titan, which is really quite interesting because of the Titanic, Titan. And then you got IC is iron, could be like Iron Christ or iron casing or something like that, or Nick for nickel. But it's representing the mind's eye, from my opinion. So the Titan disappeared. And interesting thing is that in the article, at the beginning of the article that they keep repeating over and over, is that they mention death 3 times, right? You'll never return, there's chances are you'll never return, right? You never come back up. So there's those, and the 3, right? So it's very interesting because the 3 represents the mind's eye. The third, King Solomon built the 3rd temple, right? which is this. And if you notice, there's a T right there, the table. So the Titanic, the table. So now those the subatomic, it sank, right? Well, they don't know what happened to it. It disappeared. So what I'm looking at here, if hopefully I'm not confusing people, is that somehow I think what they're showing us on stage on a bigger picture is that there's going to be, iPad Go 2. Excuse me. I am so sorry, you guys. I gotta watch that. I'm just so used to just blurting out my burps. Now let's go to iPad Go 2, and when we think of subatomic, I think it's the classroom. I'm thinking it's representing possibly this subatomic. And interesting because remember I don't know if I told you, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I kind of lost my hearing in my left ear, and but I can still hear, but it felt like there was something plugging it. And then I went to the doctor, and this is the craziest thing about the medical field. And this is where I was looking at that economic thing where it shows those ducks, and it shows the sun flare coming off, and all these end time things and war and stuff like that. I've showed it many times on my thing, but now I understand what the three ducks are flying. It's like saying the three like quacks, quack, quack, quack. So when I go to the doctor, my primary care doctor, he checks my ears and he goes, well, there's nothing in your ears. They're not plugged up or anything. Well, he doesn't notice there's anything wrong. He goes, oh, they're completely clean, And he goes, oh, you must have shingles. And because he's looking at my file, because they're trying to get me to get the shingles shot again. And they're trying to get me to do the tetanus shot and all these other shots into my system. And I refuse to do it, right? And even before he come in, the nurse was going over my things, and she's like, you need to get this, and you need to get that. And I said, I don't need to get anything. She goes, well, the doctor's going to tell you you're going to need to get it. And I said, I don't care what the doctor says. My life isn't, in your guys' hands. I did not sign my life over to you guys to tell me what to do with my own body. And that kind of, pissed her off a little bit, but I didn't care, It's like, you're pissing me off by telling me that, like forcing something on me. So anyway, that she goes and leaves, and then the doctor comes and goes, Casey, I haven't seen you for a while. And I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, you got something going on with your ears, right? And so I get up there, and he stands up, and I stand up, and he looks in my ear, and he goes, well, they're all clear. I don't see anything wrong with it. And he sits down, he's looking through my file and stuff, and he goes, it's shingles. I go, it's not shingles. I go, there's no outbreak. There's nothing. He goes, oh, that's right. There is no outbreak, is there? He goes, I wonder if it's because you need your tetanus shot. So he's going through the shots, that I need and what the problem was. And I go, no, it's not that. That's just silly. And so, he's kind of looking at me because I know he knows. He goes, well, I'll immediately send an email to your specialist, and, my other doctor that does my blood work. He goes, I'll send him. He goes, but right now, he goes, I'll send you to an ear specialist. And I said, okay. So he sends me to this ear specialist, which is an ear and allergy specialist, right? And that's when the doctor, sends me through this test. He goes, oh, yeah, you're 20% down your left ear. But it's more like, he goes, it's probably allergies. Take this Presidome for 14 days. he goes, and then, make an appointment, come see me at the end of the month or whatever, and we'll redo the test and see how it goes. He goes, it's just probably allergies. And then when I was in the waiting room, the whole waiting room was just filled with people with, that probably, who knows, had the same problem. There was just a lot of patients in there. And I think it has to do with the allergies, right? And this morning when I got a cup of coffee, the guy that was serving me coffee was telling me about his left ear was giving him trouble for the last couple of days, which is quite interesting. And then I started noticing my ear yesterday starting to feel really weird and sensitive. And I thought, oh, no, not again. But now I'm starting to kind of piece this together about when you look at this last guy right here, you've got this, what looks like a wave, but it also looks like a foot. I'm not sure how you can see, if you can see that. That looks like a foot right there, and this looks like a leg. But anyway, so when I seen that, I was like thinking, I wonder if it's something has to do with the our mind's eye. So now they have the Titanic that went down. And I started looking at this, and I'm like thinking, well, the body is considered, like they say, the Queen Mary, right? Our bodies are like the iron ship. And then it got divided or broken in half, which divides the positive and the negative. And then we got the neutral zone right here going down the middle of us. So now they got the Titanic that went down, which apparently has been doing all these tours, like hundreds of thousands of dollars to go for this, a tour that's only an hour and 45 minutes. Now, when you look at the hour and 45 minutes, the first letter is A, the ninth letter in Greek is iota, which represents the eye, so the AI. Well, when you look in our body, our mind's eye is the automated intelligence. It's the AI to our body. It's the antenna, right? And then they say that it's, it's not going to be around for a while. Well, that's quite interesting, because I was thinking trying to read what's happening in the world today, is that it's subatomic, submersible. So what am I getting at today? I'm thinking that these are all signs of saying that some people's mind's eye is getting ready to sink. Perhaps those who haven't found that they are the ship that to pull themselves back together. It's like saying you're piecing your Titanic back together. You're pulling your right and left brain back into one as one unit. And now they're saying that the third eye pretty much is going down. And there was 3 crew members. And then they mentioned death 3 times in their speech that they're giving. And then you got 3 plus 3 is 6, which is the weapon, which is Z, right? For Zeta. But in Hebrew, and that's Greek, right? But in Hebrew, it's Zayin. Zayin is represented as the 7th letter, like the 7th house, which is, kind of interesting. And how it goes into New York. It's like saying when they take people over from the old world into our new world of America. And if you look at America, it's a mirror. A mirror. It's like we're going into, because we're, in America, we're actually living in the mirror. We're the mirror image that kind of makes sense. But the interesting is that it's operated by the White Star Line. And the British is really the brightest. So when they say the British are coming, the British are coming, the British are coming, I think they say it 3 times too, but it's the brightest are coming, the brightest. And if you look at the world today, they only had 2 families that control the whole world, 2 bloodlines. So something tells me when this was sunk on purpose to keep the brightest from coming in, and the ones that were here, controlled this world and everything. So they sunk all the brightest people that were coming from one area to the next, possibly as maybe that was the sign back then, bringing change to America. But somehow they sunk the ship, and look at how America turned out, right? We've been divided ever since, probably, and just all kinds of weird stuff. But then when I started looking at all the symbolism that they're bringing it up, and if we look at the 22nd letter in Hebrew is an X. The 22nd letter in Greek is an X, like chi or T, the 2 keys, or X marks the spot. Remember, everything is a mirror effect of our body. So I'm thinking something about the third eye had sunk, but I'm listening to Gina, and she's kind of like referencing maybe it's the Stargate, to where it sunk and it went down to, or it went into the water up there, but they traveled all the way down to South or Antarctica, or where Atlantis is at, and it went in. Now, when we look at Atlantis in our body is right here. Atlantis, T, the S is the E sum, or the sum of the equation, the summoner. So Atlantis, law, is in other words, my perspective is right here. Atlantis is right here in our mind. So the Stargate is right here in our mind. The mirror is right here in our brain, the mirror effect. Because if you think about the mirror, it's like you can go into the negative world or the positive world. Remember, I was telling you about parallel universes? So you've got this mimics this, and this mimics this. Because if you look at our brain, our right brain is the same as our left brain, but they're just 2 different energies. Because remember, in this world, they're like saying, oh, there's a parallel universe that's right next to us, and we're just going to move into that. But we are everything. Everything is within us, right? Within our body. It's all a perception. And so I'm thinking what they're trying to tell us is that that's the doorway. That's the Stargate right here in our mind's eye, which that's our nose right there. I should put it right here. Right here in our temple is on the Last Supper table where Jesus is at, he's right here. And that's very important for us to that's why we always go up into our mind's eye, up at the last in our temple. The third King Solomon built it for King David, right? David, David. That's 6 door. So door, D is for doorway. Adam, A for Adam, 6, door. So it's representing, King David is representing the physical body. And then Lord Jesus, or King Solomon, from the seeds that we planted, which is Islam, which is, I think, Muslim. I think they're the same thing. Then you get Christ, Christianity, and then you get Judaism, which is Israel. Israel. Okay, so the 3 seeds planted, and if you noticed, it looks like a pillar or a stand. Hope I'm not losing anybody on this. Hopefully, you're kind of understanding what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say here is I think the world is programming or telling us those that are the brightest out of all of us, because remember, even Trump does the, how does he do? He does the 666 all the time, or he does the thumbs up, which is quite interesting because, and then in his speeches, he tells, gives like codes and stuff. But a lot of people don't see it because they're not looking at the ancient original language. It's like when we look at the scripture, it's written in 2 ways, because remember, Bible, Bi means 2. B is, bodies, 2 bodies, our soul and our physical body, or you got our physical body and 2. There's 2 going on right there. And then LE is pearl, or actually L, electric, the elect. 2 bodies, electric. So you got your physical body, which is the Titanic, and then the Titan, which would be the subatomic university that I was telling you about, Scooby-Doo Incorporated. And if you watch that online, that they have it, it's always lightning striking for Mr. E. It's like I've enrolled you into the subatomic university, and there's always bam, bam, it's lightning strike and everything. Well, that's Z, the weapon. So they're giving us a hint that it's right there. So what I think is happening right now with a lot of people with their left ear. So tell me if your left ear is giving you problems right now, or this side of your face, your left side. I think what it's showing is that the left side's going down, because remember, that's why they say stay at the right-hand side of the Father. And if you look at the left energy, it's a negative energy. So I'm thinking what's happening is there could be a division or a sinking of some people's ships, or some people are going to go down. And then the people on board was 22, so that's the X. And then 40, the value of 40 in Hebrew is mem, which means mountain, rapid water. And then, let's see, in Greek, what is it in Greek? I think it's mu. So it's mountain, right? Up in the mountain, the highest peak. Moses was up here in the highest peak in our mind's eye. Okay, I've talked for 29 minutes and hope that I got somewhere on that.